Ladies and gentlemen, a very quick move to the next session, which again is a very, very interesting one with some amazing panelists who are amongst us right now. The session, it's a fireside chat on Beyond Stability, Crafting the Next Economic Playbook. So basically this conference, course correction, is about rewriting the narrative, moving from reactive fixes to proactive transformation. What kind of sustainable steps we can take today to make a better, brighter, and prosperous future. Our next session, this Beyond Stability, Crafting the Next Economic Playbook, brings together some of Pakistan's sharpest economic minds to discuss how we can pivot from surviving uncertainty to building a sustainable, inclusive, and future-ready economy. May I introduce the panelists to you, please? I would request them to join me on stage, one by one. First of all, we have Syed Muhammad Shabbar Zaidi Saab, who's an author, economic analyst, and has been the 26th chairman of Federal Board of Revenue. He's also served as president ICAP. So if you can join us on stage, please. Thank you very much. Shabbar Saab is known for his candid views, very bold, upfront views, and it's an honor to have him here today. Next up, we have Mr. Khurram Hussain, who's a senior journalist, business and economy. We've all read his articles. A very respected journalist and economic analyst. He's known for his sharp insights on fiscal policy, governance, and development. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Khurram Hussain. And finally, we have Mr. Ali Khizr, who is the Director's Research Business Recorder. Business Recorder is, we all know, all the business people, that's an amazing newspaper which publishes to the point, upright, candid news and editorials. So we have Mr. Ali Khizr with ourselves. He's got 2 decades of experience in economic analysis, and he leads the business research offering data-driven insights into Pakistan's economy. So, and this fireside chat is going to be moderated by Mr. Asad Hamid Khan, who's the country head ACCA Pakistan. He's going to moderate it. He's a seasoned professional accountant with 23 years in leadership, and he has steered regulatory, corporate, and policy transformation initiatives wherever he went. Ladies and gentlemen, I hand over the mic to Mr. Asad Hamid Khan.
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone, and thank you, Aswar, for allowing me to moderate this wonderful session. It's such a great, I would say, closure as we come to the end of this summit, having seen the journey starting with the policymakers, sharing their conversations around what in their view is the course correction. Moving on, hearing from the businesses what they believe is their journey towards redefining the business playbook. So we have picked up on themes of climate, we have picked up on themes of sustainability, we have picked up on digital, we have picked up on AI, and now it's all about crafting the next economic playbook. So what is it beyond stability? Today's conversations, as you can see from the panelists, so welcome once again, Shabbar Saab, Ali Khizr, and Khurram. I do understand it will be a very bold conversation. The idea is how do we transition from short-term fixes to long-term value and growth. The conversation, there were some commonalities that we experienced, and we were able to gather from all the conversations from business and government leadership, clearly stating and agreeing that Pakistan is at that juncture where fiscal stabilization must evolve into a new growth narrative. There's this call out from everyone for a transformative rethink that how Pakistan grows, competes, and governs its economy, which renews the contract, the social contract between the state, the businesses, and the citizens. Today's fireside chat, I think, is not merely a diagnosis of the challenges. But I'm sure that once we conclude the session, we're able to highlight that urgent, bold shift that is required from where we are, which many believe, many have commented, is an outdated, import-dependent, consumption-led, rent-seeking, and crisis-driven patterns, and how we can move towards productivity-based, export-oriented, and innovation-led, and why? So that we're able to rebuild the investor confidence, develop our most important capital as a nation, which is the human capital, and obviously create more reasons for the economy to grow. So our diverse panel needs no introduction, but it's a wonderful national, I would say, these are three forces that shape the national discourse, where you have at one end, you have the economist, a person who has an eye on the data. One end you have the policy person with Mr. Shabbar Zaidi, and in between we have our business and economic journalists. So, starting our panel discussion today, so it'll be great to hear from all of you that when we say course correction, what we really mean in Pakistan's context. Is it about rebalancing priorities, redesigning systems, or is it about rediscovering purposes? So if I can start with Khurram Hussain, yourself.
I'll say a little bit of all and maybe some of none. Two things that have got to be understood, I think, by people who run our state. One is that there are some areas in which the state is involved that they have got to learn to let go of and to pull out from. I'll give you one example over here, which is the setting of electricity prices, for example. I think this template, which was developed in the late 1990s, with cost-plus pricing and IPPs and capacity payments, and all of that is now being rendered outdated very, very rapidly. And they are discovering this in Islamabad. They're finding out that a renewable energy revolution is sweeping the world. It has landed on Pakistan's shores. It is transforming the power generation landscape in very important ways. But rather than learn how to ride this wave, and rather than learn how to tap into its energies, what they are trying to do is their impulses are to try and hold it back because they think or they see it as a threat to how they do business in Islamabad. And that's something that they have to now learn, that the world is changing in these areas, in places like energy and power generation, in fundamental ways, and they need to learn to change with it. And one of the changes they need to bring about is realize that the role of the government in the energy sector has to change, and that change involves a retreat, a withdrawal. Let private energies, whether of households or even of private capital, increasingly start to take over, manage that transition rather than trying to hold it back. But there are other examples where the state needs to learn that some of the things we have been holding on to for the past many decades are a liability, or that those are things that we need to learn how to hand over. And so this is very important. But even more important than this, let me be perfectly frank here, that there are two things that you cannot, under any circumstances, tamper with when you are running the state. One is the people's mandate, expressed through an election, and the other is the Constitution. You can amend and change the Constitution by all means, but you shouldn't be tampering with it in order to troubleshoot short-term issues and short-term problems. Now, and when you do that, when you do either one of these two things, you land up in a very strange place where you've got all the power and not really much of a sense of what to do with it, where power begins to serve itself, where shoring up your own power and securing it from competition from outside, from within, from whatever, becomes a bigger priority than finding ways to make power more effective within your country. And that's where we are right now, because we've done both of these things, not just one. And I'll give you one example in how that's landed up in a strange place over here. Just look at how this particular government, after having been in power almost 2 years, their idea of reform on the fiscal front, for example, includes things like looking through Instagram and YouTube videos for evidence of people who are spending too much money and then serving them notices. That is their fiscal effort, to try and raise the next generation of revenues with which to finance their expenditures and with which to bridge their deficits. It's absurd. That's the strange place in which they've landed up. Look at how the only reform effort we have seen in the power sector, for example, is an attempt to try and sell electricity at marginal cost to industrial producers for the next 3 years under some package that they call Roshan Maishat or something like that. Talk to any, this room has enough business and industry people in it, anyone associated with manufacturing, and ask them how much of an impact is this package going to make to your cash flows, and you'll have your answer. You can't possibly find your way forward in this world with this kind of a setup.
No, thank you, Khurram. So your focus is more on, again, the structural reforms, pivoting on the energy transition from more public sector to private sector. You've talked about the legislative and constitutional focus when it comes to implementation. So moving over to Ali Khizr, the same question to yourself. When we say course correction, what do we really mean in Pakistan's context?
Well, as Khurram rightly pointed out, that the government ideas are outdated, and I would say that the government is kind of clueless in terms of where to move from there. So we kind of stuck in an economic model which is outdated, and we failed that model for the past 30 odd years. And all what the government is doing is to prolong the stabilization. So that stabilization is. We run a tight monetary policy. Do we have a choice to not run a tight monetary policy, not running a 3 to 4 plus real interest rate? No. They have to run a tight fiscal policy. They have a primary fiscal surplus for the past 2 years, and we are projected to have another year. So do we have a choice to move away from that? No. So when you run those tight fiscal and monetary policies, you cannot have growth. This is a 4th year of low growth period and stabilization. So we averted default, and then 3 straight years of stabilization, and yet we are not finding any growth. And that the frustration keeps him here and there, what to do, what not to do, what to do. And the problem is the government lacks imagination. They don't have ingenuity in terms of doing the reform. State Bank is doing what is required to be done is to stabilize the prices and let the economy to move on a slow path. It's the fiscal side, it's the government side to work on and find out some kind of a growth pattern where we could have that. What the growth pattern we had in the past is about the spending on the development, and that was there since 90s, and after 18th Amendment, provinces got more money, they spent more on development, you got more growth, you got more brick and mortar growth and all that, and you build those road and bridges and schools and universities and all those buildings. How much these buildings are yielding returns? How much that infrastructure is yielding returns in the future? Unfortunately, that's not yielding return. Those kind of a thing which we build, and with the low governance, is they're not yielding economic returns and all that. And we are still stuck that. We still find that model. We still want to spend on that, but pretty much the brick and mortar infrastructure. Even the talk on the digital side is about half of it is brick and mortar. And that's where we're stuck in. That's where we're stuck in. So and we don't have a money for that development either. So the kind of outdated model we had, we cannot even have that because we cannot spend. And the private sector that run on on a low interest rate, okay, well, whatever the growth we had in the Musharraf time, or whatever during the CPEC time, or post COVID, they were when the real rate were negative, and there was a boost in that. The currency was somehow undervalued. So overvalued. The currency was overvalued. You have negative real rates. That gives us impetus to the private sector, and private sector used to have that growth and easy run and all that. So we don't have that either. We don't have the government development side. So we are short of ideas where to find the growth. Unfortunately, both our private sector and the public sector lack imagination to grow. So where is the growth to come from? Do we need to have, okay, we need to do the manufacturing, we need to do the exports, okay, we need to do import substitution. We throw everything under the bus, but what to do, how to do, and where to go? We don't know that. And the energy sector is the biggest mess we have, and without solving it, we cannot have that. Now, the problem is the energy, we look at the energy from a very narrow perspective. We look at the energy from the power ministry, that's all. We look at the energy from the IPPs, we look at the energy from the discos, we look at the energy from the energy, from the tariffs, whether it's for the industrial tariff or the consumer tariff and all that. And we look at the energy for providing gas to the household. Like maybe gas is 10 times expensive than what the price you are providing to the household. But to solve the power sector problem, we are exacerbating the petroleum side. So, I mean, we ended up the captive, we ended up like increase the levy on the LNG. Then to get the climate resilient funding, we will put it up the levy on the furnace oil. Now these things are moving the industries away from manufacturing because the power sector is not providing the energy at the right rate. Even with this, whatever the Roshan marginal cost program, that's not really helping them. They're moving away from the grid.
Ali,
but yeah.
Ali, so thank you. You see, so we will be picking this up. So if I were to summarize, you have talked about the outdated outlook. Whether it's the public sector or the private sector, the ability not
to... So yes,
to...
I just to confine that, so we need to find a good private sector people coming up with the solution where there we have power plants. Why don't we have a aluminum smelting plant? We have power plants in the south. Why don't someone from energy company would build up that? There are CEOs I know who are working on that, but the government is not supporting them. Why not we come in the export of other areas and where energy intensive areas and provide energy from where we have. So we don't think on that. We think on that outdated textile sector. We think on that outdated development sector. So we need to come out of those fixation what we had. We need to come out of those outdated failed 30-year idea to move forward and look where we can go in the next 10, 15 years on what we have on the plate. So we need to start from there. Unfortunately, government and the private sector experts within the government do not think. I think it's a problem from imagination than anything else.
So thank you, Ali. So your focus on what needs to change is prolonged stabilization and lack of imagination on the growth frontier, whether it's the public or the private sector. Shabasa, your views, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I think whenever we discuss the economy or the society of any country, we have to take a starting point. If you take out Pakistan and you start from 2000 to 2025, there have been times of stabilization, there have been times of difficulties, and there have been times of acute pressure. There is a substantially, relatively better time at the moment, but if you take out the index from 2000 to 2025 of Pakistan with any regional or the international level, then we all agree that it is going down. There is no second view on that. Now we have to get out of this and move this from here to here, or at least it should not further go down. If you sit down with the parliamentarians, if you sit down with the IMF, if you sit down with people like you, if you sit down with the with the economists and journalists, all of them agree on almost all the reforms or reform or all the corrections or whatever you can call them. So what we have to think seriously, irrespective of the kind of the governments we having in Islamabad from 2000 to 2025, what is the reason why this unity of or consensus of thought has not been translated into any real change. The question should be like this, that why this consensus, I am very, very clear that if I sit down with the people in Islamabad or Lahore or Faisalabad or Sialkot or anywhere or this panel, we all agree on a consensus. We have a consensus on the economic problems of the country. There is no dispute. The question is why we are not picking up, or we are not changing. So my analysis is that first thing is that we have overused the word reform, and we have overused the word structural reforms, and we don't mean what actually we mean by that. Khizr has said a very interesting thing, and I will just relate it with reality and then I will come back to it. Khizr has said, and both Khizr and Khurram has talked about the power generation. State versus private sector. Fortunately or unfortunately, me and my friend sitting in front of me, Sohail Wajat, we are advising at the moment KE on their tariff case, which has been stayed by the High Court yesterday. I have been involved in the consultancy of power for the last 40 years. He has been involved in this business of engineering technology for the last more than 40 years. And let me candidly say to you, very candidly say to you, we sat down with the people in KE last week. It was last Thursday. And it was there we realized what is the problem of KE. It is not the question of private sector versus public sector. So I am just giving this illustration for one reason, that in our country, the primary problem is that the decisions are taken without preparations. We, as a country, we are in a hurry. We as a country are in, every person in a country is in a hurry. He wants to take some step that should give him results in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, year. The countries don't give economic results in 2 years, 3 years. They take decades. And I will give comparative example of Manmohan Singh's reform program in India in 1990s. They had a totally different government by the Modi, but the economic mandate, the system was not touched. It went on like the same thing. In Pakistan, we are in a hurry and we want a sensational news every day in the newspaper. If I issue a newspaper tomorrow, and say everything is okay and things are going in the right dimension, then all of you will become bored.
So Shobhit sir, on this particular
This is what all of you become say, yeah, what is this rubbish? Nothing is happening. So the question is that I have seen this very closely, and I personally also, and I feel as a nation also, we should take medicine for anxiety, because we are anxious. We are anxious to have results in 5 months, in 2 months, in 3 months. And let me tell you, me and Sohail Sahab was shocked. Me and Sohail Sahab was shocked when we were seeing some certain facts about Karachi electricity. We had no clue about that.
So Shabir Sahab, on this note,
So what I am trying to say, there is a consensus about the Pakistan's reform position. There is no dispute. I have played on the both sides of the wicket. I am saying there is no dispute. The only issue is that we should calm down and should not look for the results in 1 day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Nations prosper, develop, they get results because we are not going anywhere. This country will remain here, this will always remain here, nothing to worry about it. But the question is, if you are asking me that thing, for argument's sake, I'll give you another live example. For argument's sake, you have seen this challan issue this traffic challan issue by the camera. Everybody is complaining. But I am very happy that at least an electronic system has been developed in the city which is identifying a car and sending a notice that can be used for other purposes. But we are such a strange nation. We are only saying the challan. Okay, fair enough, this challan is wrong. I agree with you, challan is wrong. But at least a camera system has been installed and you are monitoring the cars. So that system can be used for some other productive purposes. So the question is that I would suggest that this sensationalism, this anxiety, this depressive attitude of the nation should be cured. The reforms or the things, my view is, I am a firm view, things are moving in a right direction.
thank you much, Shabir Sahab. So I think that's, so 3 key themes: consensus on, and there's no dispute on the diagnosis. Hurry, not looking for short-term or quick fixes. And the final thing, that in his view, directionally, Pakistan is set in the right course. Thank you, Shabir Sahab. So moving on to the next question, Khurram, to yourself, and this is just to be in the interest of the overall panel time allocation. So I'm just trying to merge, I'll just merge a few questions. So starting with yourself, Khurram, what are the sectors in your view? So you've created your diagnosis, you've laid the foundations for the course correction. What sectors in your view are the most untapped, and what policy or private sectors triggers can unlock them?
I think right now, these days there are 2 areas in particular, one of which qualifies as a sector. I'm not sure if the other one does, but nevertheless I'll share it. There are 2 sectors that I think have unusual amount of promise to be drivers of transformative change, not just incremental, but transformative kind of change. One is power, and what's happening in the power sector with the influx of solar generation, and now we are ready to move into the next generation of that revolution, of the renewable energy revolution, with solar plus battery. Now that batteries are set to enter Pakistan in a very large way, the way solar panels entered Pakistan over the past 10 years. And I think electric vehicles may well serve as the spearhead to bring batteries and their transformation potential to Pakistan. I think opening the door to this revolution is very important. I think for the government to embrace the revolution, to look down the road and say what role can we play now to put in place the requirements that the revolution will need to make itself sustainable in the future. For example, if we are going to be moving into electric vehicles today, 5 years down the road, there's going to be a big demand. There will begin a big demand for the refurbishment of electric batteries. Maybe it's a good idea to start providing the right incentives to set up battery reconditioning plants and industry as well at this point in time. So 5 years down the road, when that demand begins to come in, the industry is ready at that point. What kind of help can the government provide to increase electric vehicle charging stations around the country, for example? There are many, many things. I don't want to list all of them.
So in terms of the sectors, one is renewable energy and
one
the
is renewable.
revolution.
The other is digital payments. I think over there, that's an untapped sector, and I think it can play a very large role, not only in helping create or give an impetus to the next generation of business activity, but also in helping document the economy.
Brilliant. So it's renewable energy, transition from brown to green, working on the sustainability of we have the new Parks and Green taxonomy. It aligns to that. Digital payments, a means for financial inclusion, and at the same time, documentation of economy. Moving on to yourself, Ali. So as an economist who has been tracking real indicators, what are the early signs, if any, that Pakistan is turning the corner toward recovery, or what would be those signs when you as an economist would feel that yes, we are now moving from stabilization to growth?
That's a very, very good question. So, since we lack imagination and we are moving on the past growth model, as I said, so we need to take a clue from the past. So, if we go back to the Musharraf time, that we ran 5 years of 5 consecutive years of fiscal primary surplus from 1999 to 2004. So the 5 years of that, so we ran that, and then we got some geopolitical dividends coming up from there after 9/11 and all that. So and we did some kind of a reform at that time. So reform was in the banking, deregulation of the telecom and oil and gas. So that opened up new services sector, especially in the telecom and banking, and we saw a boom in it. So and then that is followed by like 3 good years of growth. And solid FDI coming in before they really damaged it in the last year, and for political reasons and also. So we are approaching that. So we still need one more year. I think it's 27, 28, FY 28. After running the primary fiscal surplus this year and next year, and we would remain a growth of below 4%, then we can move up from 4 to 6%, 7% growth, and we may see some FDI coming in, and we may be with the changing geopolitical situation and all that, all the dialogue you had today on it, you will have today on it, so that there will be a room for it. So I think that's one area, and of course, with the Khurram talk about that we need to unleash new sectors in it. One is the renewable energy, where there are lots of changing that, and a new energy vehicle, where this only manufacturing sector where we have a car capacity, production capacity of 500,000, and last year we sold about 150,000 cars. Still, we see new plants coming up. BYD is coming up. Capital Smart Motors have announced that the best way is buying and Fortron old plants. So the new car companies are coming up, and new energy companies are coming up in it. And someone is really thinking about the manufacturing of the solar panels here by importing cells and all that. So we are moving in that direction. The government need to facilitate on that. And then the other area which is very important we need to work on is that we need to fix the energy sector. We have higher energy in the south, which is a low marginal cost energy, and we have issues of transmitting those energy from south to north, where supposedly the load center is. So what we need to see is we need to provide opportunity of more industries to house in south, and with the proximity of port, they importing and re-exporting is easy as well, and provide the energy at the marginal cost over there, rather than provide a marginal cost energy all over the country, where the political decision, where the Punjab dominance come into play, that we cannot have like let the Punjab industry to pay higher rate than the law, than the Sindh. We need to get out of the fixation of this, and we should provide energy cheap where you have cheap energy sources available. So if we fix those issues and we keep on continuing on those tight fiscal monetary policy, we'll get a growth path on that. All we need to do is how would we pay way, how would move on to that, and of course, energy sector you need to deregulate. The way we deregulate, just to finish in the thought on that deregulation, and just to take a clue from what Shabbar said about that, the K electric and all that. So we need to deal with the K electric case very carefully. There are issues on the both side, the management side as well as on the government side as well. There is a fracture board over there. There is a split in the board, all that, and that is really making the problem. So we need to solve the problem of the board. We need to fix the problem in the management as well, and we need to rationalize the tariff, the 32 or 39, if both are not workable. So we need to come here somewhere, and we need to give an example how the Karachi to run, and then we that pay way for the rest of the discourse to work on.
Thank you, Ali. So, Ali, the three takeaways for me. Number one is, again, endorsing what Khurram had mentioned around the transition and more investment coming into the renewable sector. So if I can just say that probably more FDI coming, representing more confidence from investors outside Pakistan. The other point that you made, in your view, there's still another year, comparing it with the 99-2004 cycle, where 5 years of continued primary surplus leads to that confidence that yes, now we can be more, let's say, adventurous or innovative or less protective in terms of our growth ambition. And last but not the least, you've talked about deregulation as a principle. So, Shabir Saab, I think this will be the final question for today, and we can take a question if the organizers allow. Looking ahead 5 to 10 years from now, so you have seen the entire 60-70 year Pakistan economic history. And you've published so many books. And in your view, you would have some success visualization that if this is what are the indicators for you, then the economy has done well and is now not on stabilization, but sustained and inclusive growth to continue. So looking ahead those 5 to 10 years, would you like to share how success looks like for you?
If you look at today and you see 10 years ahead, as I said in my earlier discourse, that what we have developed over the time is a consensus on the diagnostic or the consensus on the problems. There has been a substantial improvement in the knowledge base of the people at large, and dissemination of that knowledge base to the policy makers for that correction. The realization on the part of the political elite that they have to deliver substantially in the service sector if they want to survive politically. I believe there is a realization to that effect. The fourth thing is that there is a external stability or the external factors which are giving support to the Pakistan overall environment of stability for the time being and for the 10 years, for the years to come. If these 4 or 5 things which have happened over the time mature and they continue to improve in this manner, then we can expect a positive sign. Let me give you just one example, and that will give you an idea about that. That there has been a public acceptance that the tax rate on companies an individual is high. Now, I am not saying, Khurram is not saying, Khizr is not saying, Prime Minister is saying that the rate of tax is high. He is accepting the issue, the rate of tax on salary is high. There is a very serious realization that the tax is not absorbable, the consumers cannot absorb this kind of tax. This has been realized by the very high top level people. There has been a realization that the overall consumers are suffering because of these things. So that will translating into real answers to this. Again I am saying that there are certain factors which need to be further clarified to the people. One is that we came with a slogan. We came with the slogan that state should be small. The role of state should be small. But that was not an absolute statement. It was a relative statement. The state should be small in doing businesses. But state cannot be small in giving education. State cannot be small in giving transportation. State cannot be small in giving housing. State cannot be small in giving medical services. So we got this idea of a small state somewhere from Chicago School of Economics or somewhere from Harvard School of Economics and say state should condense, and our people start saying state should be small, and we said privatize this school and privatize this school, and we started saying state should be small. And this is exactly what has happened in New York yesterday. That person is saying state should be bigger. They have frozen the rent. What is saying? What does it mean? The state has intervened in New York. And they say the state should be there. The America, which was the center of private sector industry, the slogan of private sector, that person is saying, I will freeze the rents in New York. What does it mean? Is it a socialism? So America has become socialist? What you are saying? Has it become socialist? So what I am trying to say, there were propagation of the wrong notions in Pakistan by the people who came with a briefcase from USA, became Prime Minister of Pakistan and went back to the USA.
So thank you much, Shahbaz Sahab. I think this is a fantastic point that while there is realization with the decision makers about which leads to the consensus that you're talking about, but for the role of the state when we talk about it to be small, it's only in the matter of running businesses and not other places. Thank you, Shahbaz Sahab. So just one quick fire round, half a second, in just one word, starting with Ali yourself. What, in your view, is the biggest risk in terms of derailing this direction? Just one word.
Desperation to have the growth earlier than where the system allows.
So desperation for growth. Khurram, from your side?
Yeah, I'd second that. Desperation for growth can derail things very badly.
Consensus. Now we have the third. Shahbaz Sahab, yourself.
The risk is that this consensus is broken.
Brilliant. So I think it's a wonderful takeaway. It's continue with the consensus, continue with the direction, and not break this consensus or be desperate for growth, which means continue with the stabilization and embark on the growth journey at the right time. Thank you very much. I think a big round of applause up till now for the insights that have been shared by the panel. So is there time for a question? I see an individual holding a mic.
We'll take the question afterwards. We'll all be here during lunch, so we can take it offline. We are running a bit short of time. Thank you so much for your understanding. Thank you very much, Aziz Saab. We're just going to... it was a very informative session, but before we close this, I would like to invite Mr. Imran Halim Sheikh, who is the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of Bank Islami Pakistan Limited, a leader known for his vision and advancing Islamic banking and sustainable financial growth, to come and give the vote of thanks, please. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Imran Halim Sheikh. All right. Okay, so we'll... Just to wrap up this session, I think as all the eminent panelists just said, okay, so we have Mr. Imran Halim Sheikh here. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Imran Halim Sheikh. He'll come and deliver the vote of thanks. So.
Hello. Assalamualaikum. On my right side of Jack's pocket, in my coat's pocket, I have the speech which I've made from the chat GPT, which I'm not taking out. Because especially Shabba साहब को देख के ना chat GPT की speech में मज़ा नहीं आएगा मुझे, to talk about that. तो जो मेरा left side का pocket है उसमें कुछ भी नहीं है. तो I would speak impromptu because आप सबका मुंह देख के मुझे नज़र आ गया भूखे हैं लंच के लिए आपको खाना खाना है so I won't keep a gap between the food and myself. I will just say a few points. Thank you. Great talk. आपने उस टाइम ये स्पीच रखी है असफर जब इस्लामाबाद में 27वीं अमेंडमेंट हो गई है so it's I can't say it's as important as 27th amendment but I can say it is somewhat important as the 27th Amendment. Few points. Number one is the gentleman sitting on my left, Khurram, Asad, Shabba Saab, and Ali, are very dear friends of mine. So a lot of respect for them. I've learned a lot of things from them. And इससे पहले जो हमारी बात हुई थी on the financial and Islamic resilience, amazing topics. I just want to say one thing which you should take from here. That we spoke about a lot of things, all positive, what should be done in the industry. Most of us know what should be done in the industry. The gap is in implementation. पता हमें सबको जगह क्या सही है और क्या गलत है. Issue क्या है? Implementation का issue है. इस पे मैं example आपको दूंगा. I had some honor of working with the government of Pakistan. तो I used to work with the Prime Minister Shahid Abbasi as a Chief of Staff. So मैंने शाहिद साहब से एक दिन कहा सर हम सुबह 9 बजे आते हैं आप और रात को 10 बजे जाते हैं. एंड उस ज़माने में एयरफोर्स चीफ थे सोहेल अमान साहब जो सामने बैठे हुए हैं. मैंने कहा सर आप भी सुबह 8 बजे आ जाते हैं एयर हेडक्वार्टर्स में और रात को 9 बजे आप जाते हैं. ऑन द कॉन्ट्री हम पेंटागन गए वो सुबह 8 बजे आते थे 4 बजे जाते थे. एंड इवन ट्रम्प यूज्ड टू कम एट 8 and go at 4. But US was going आगे and we were going पीछे. तो मैंने सोहेल साहब से कहा इतने हम घंटे बैठते हैं उसके बावजूद why are we going पीछे? He said कि because we all are not working in one direction. And I think I used to also say very famously the 7 a.m. PIA flight which goes from Karachi to Islamabad, आधे लोग अपना काम करने जाते हैं बाकी आधे उनका काम खराब करने जाते हैं. तो that's a mindset by the way. No, I'm honest. I'm being honest to you. हम जो भी है अंग्रेजी में बातें करें सुबह से मैंने इतनी इंग्लिश सुनी है that we could have kept an Oxford Union class here. But what's the point of speaking so much English if you can't communicate it to your local, your people outside in the streets? The last thing, thank you. So please, this is not a test of English. It's a test of your aptitude. This is a test of your Pakistaniyat. This is a test of what you want to do with the country. So please, communicate this to your teams. मैं अभी 2-3 स्टॉल्स पे गया बाहर बहुत अच्छे स्टॉल्स थे बैंक्स के. मैंने कहा आपके बैंक के प्रेसिडेंट का नाम क्या है? 4 बंदों को अपने बैंक के प्रेसिडेंट का नाम नहीं पता था. मैंने रिकॉर्ड किया हुआ है आप चाहें तो व्हाई वी कम्युनिकेटेड इन इंग्लिश है या जब उनको ही आपने बात नहीं बताई कि आप हैं कौन. मुफ्ती साहब जिसने वही अच्छी स्पीच की उनका नाम भी नहीं पता था उसी के स्टॉल में कि आपका मुफ्ती का नाम क्या है. एनीवेज लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट आई वाज इन सखर. आई एम फ्रॉम सखर. मैं वापसी में सखर से कराची आ रहा था बाय रोड मैं और मेरा ड्राइवर. तो मुझे कोई प्यास लगी. मैंने कहा यार कहीं चाय पीते हैं और पानी पीते हैं. हमने गाड़ी रोकी खैरपुर के सामने रोड साइड में छाप रहा था चाय पी. वहाँ पे चाय वाले ने मुझे जब तक वो चाय बना रहा था कुछ 15 मिनट में मुझे बता दिया कि सर क्या मसला है, आपको पता है आर्मी का ये इशू है, एयरफोर्स का ये इशू है, और ये जो पाकिस्तान की क्रिकेट टीम है ना, इससे ये करना चाहिए। उसके बाद उसने मुझे कहा कि स्टेट बैंक के गवर्नर ने भी ये करना चाहिए और फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को ये सारी बातें उससे बताई। उसके बाद उसने बहुत अच्छी बात बताई मुझे कि ट्रंप और इमरान खान में क्या इशू है, क्यों नहीं मसला सॉल्व होगा। अच्छा 15 मिनट के बाद जो उसने मुझे चाय दी ना, वो बहुत ही बेहुदा थी, एक फिजूल। और मैंने उसके हाथ पकड़े, मैंने कहा जो तेरा काम है तुझे नहीं आता, बाकी तुझे सब कुछ आता है। दिस इज़ द इशू ऑफ पाकिस्तान। हमें सब पता है कि मसले कैसे सॉल्व करने हैं, मगर जो अंग्रेज़ी बोलना है ना, ये हमसे नहीं निकलती। एनीवेज, पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद, Nutshell Paindabad, thank you Aswar for creating this forum and bringing us together. Let's aim to be one. ये जो बाकी बैंक्स में हमने जंगें रखी हुई हैं बाकी इंस्टीट्यूशन में कि ये प्रोडक्ट हमने इसको नहीं बताना, वो प्रोडक्ट इसको नहीं बताना, इस तरह बैंक आगे नहीं जा सकते, इस तरह पाकिस्तान आगे नहीं जा सकता। अगर आपने पाकिस्तान को आगे रखना है तो आपने एक होना है, और ये बड़ी बेसिक बात है। थैंक यू ऑल ऑफ यू, वेलकम टू द लंच।
बहुत शुक्रिया इमरान साहब, और आपने शबर जैदी साहब को टफ टाइम दे दिया है। आपके जो कमेंट्स थे बड़े बोल्ड और कैंडिड थे, बट अप्रिशिएटेड। थैंक यू वेरी मच। Ladies and gentlemen, with this we come to the end of this session, and I know we are all waiting for lunch, and after lunch we have a long session, the final closing, and a very important one with some amazing guests. So I would request all of you to come back after lunch and attend that session. But before we close this, we need to have a souvenir presentation ceremony. For that, I would like to call upon stage the man who brought us all together here, Mr. Asfar Ehsan, the chairman and founder, Nutshell Group. Can we have him on stage, please? Asfar Saab is a big inspiration. Unaiza Ali, the chief operating officer, Middle East Nutshell. Mehrunissa Azhar, the chief operating officer, Pakistan Nutshell. Thank you. All right. Sir.
Sorry, मैं एक बात कहना चाह रहा था. Someone discuss about the FDI here. मैं सिर्फ एक बात कहता हूँ कि जब तक आप existing investors को facilitate नहीं करेंगे, आप FDI कभी भी attract नहीं कर सकते. और existing investor में foreign investors भी हैं जो पाकिस्तान में already पैसे लगा चुके हैं, और वो पाकिस्तानी investors भी हैं जो पाकिस्तान में already काम कर रहे हैं. अगर हम दुनिया की टॉप FDI कंट्रीज़ का डाटा निकाल के देखें पिछले 20-25 साल का, तो ऑल देयर गवर्नमेंट्स अलाउड द एग्जिस्टिंग इन्वेस्टर टू क्रिएट वेल्थ. उन्होंने उनको लीगली प्रोटेक्ट किया, पॉलिसी कंटिन्यूशन हुई, बेहतर टैक्स सिस्टम था, बेहतर गवर्नेंस थी. तो सबसे पहले अपने घर पे फोकस करें. जो इन्वेस्टर्स यहाँ पर हैं उनको जब तक आप उनकी हैंड होल्डिंग नहीं करेंगे, जब तक आप उनको वेल्थ क्रिएट नहीं करने देंगे, जब तक आप एक प्रॉपर गवर्नेंस सिस्टम कायम नहीं करेंगे, ये FDI का जो मंत्रा है ये सिर्फ एक मंत्रा ही रहेगा. ये बात मैं बहुत रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी से कह रहा हूँ, और यही हमारा असल सोल्यूशन है.
थैंक यू साहब. ओके जी, सोवेनियर प्रेजेंटेशन करेंगे. सबसे पहले आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट सैयद मोहम्मद शब्बर जैदी साहब टू कलेक्ट हिज सोवेनियर फ्रॉम असफर एहसन साहब, द चेयरमैन and founder, Nutshell Group. Khurram Hussain Saab, senior journalist, business and economy, will be collecting a souvenir. Ali Khizar Saab, Director Research, Business Recorder. Asad Hamid Khan Saab, the country head ACCA Pakistan and the moderator for this session. Imran Halim Sheikh Saab, the Deputy CEO, Bank Islami Pakistan Limited, who delivered the iconic vote of thanks. And can we have the group photograph now, please? I would request all the panelists to... Asad Abab, एक बात और क्या?
ये इमरान हलीम शेख ने जो बातें की हैं बड़ी ज़बरदस्त बातें थी, लेकिन इनके बारे में सिर्फ एक बात कहता हूँ, और मेरा अपना तजुर्बा है पिछले 25 साल का, कि जब मेरा कोई काम नहीं हो रहा होता ना पाकिस्तान के किसी भी इदारे में या किसी भी एरिया में, तो एक बंदा इमरान हलीम शेख जिसको मैं फ़ोन करता हूँ, काम हो जाता है.
जी, group photograph, please. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We break for lunch and we assemble here at 2:30. Thank you very much. Jazakallah.